sleepy, but before you drift off, please like, comment, and subscribe so we can continue making these videos just for you. Now let's dive deep into the waters with Nile Crocodile. Interesting crocodile facts from the website Fact Animal. Number 1. Crocodiles are generally carnivores, which generally means they eat only meat. However, a recent study proved that they also enjoy an occasional taste of fruit. In the 2013 study concluded there is little doubt that on occasion fruit is deliberately consumed, often in large quantities, along with their normal meat-heavy diets of mammals, birds, and fish. So basically they eat everything. Okay, good to know. Number 2. Crocodiles can go through 4,000 teeth over a lifetime. Crocodiles have between 60 and 110 teeth. When a crocodile loses a tooth, there is a small replacement already on standby. They are able to replace each of their 80 teeth up to 50 times over their lifespan. Number 3. A crocodile's jaw can apply 5,000 pounds of pressure per square inch, the strongest bite of any animal in the world. A human's jaw only produces 100 pounds of pressure per square inch in comparison. A crocodile's bite, that's my little baby Buddha kitten. She doesn't have a very strong bite, but a crocodile's bite is 10 times more powerful than a great white shark. I did not know that. 10 times more powerful than a great white shark. It's insane. Fact number 4. Crocodiles have relatively weak jaw opening muscles, which can be held shut with a rubber band or your bare hands, although that's not advisable. However, it has enabled scientists to study them very closely. Number 5. An easy way to tell the difference between a crocodile and an alligator is when a crocodile closes its mouth, all the teeth are visible, as the upper and lower jaw are the same width, whereas alligators possess small dispositions in their upper jaw for the lower teeth, meaning they are not visible and when their mouth is shut. Number 6. Another key difference to an alligator is snout shape. Alligators have wider U-shaped snouts, while crocodiles are more pointed and V-shaped. Crocodiles are generally a little more aggressive and often larger and stronger too. Number 7. The longest crocodile captured alive measured 6.17 meters or 20.2 feet and weighed 1,075 kilograms or 2,370 pounds. That's a lot of crocodile. By the National Geographic team in the Philippines. Lolong was a saltwater crocodile and the largest ever in captivity. 2,000 pounds, oh my goodness. Number 8. Crocodiles don't sweat. To keep cool, they open their mouths, which is known as mouth keeping, very similar to panting. They are not displaying aggression when you see them with their mouths wide open. They often sleep with their mouths wide open to release heat. Number 9. Crocodiles are extremely fast in the water, swimming up to speeds of 35 kilometers per hour. That would be 22 miles per hour. They use their powerful they can belly run up on their belly to 17 kilometers per hour. That's 11 miles per hour for short distances. Crocs tire easily on land and prefer to stay in water, coming ashore only to bask in the sun or to lay eggs. Number 11. Crocs can hold their breath underwater for more than an hour. Cambridge researchers have shown that this ability depends on a tiny fragment of the animal's hemoglobin, which is the protein that carries oxygen from the lungs to the rest of the body. Very interesting. Number 12. Crocodiles swallow small stones to improve digestion. These stones help grind up the food in their stomachs. Swallowing stones is especially beneficial for crocodiles that eat their prey whole, or for tougher animals with shells and bones. Number 13. The expression to cry crocodile tears, to display insincere or false display of emotion, derives from crocodiles shedding tears while they eat their prey. Well, if that isn't creepy, oh my goodness, they cry as they eat. Alright, maybe they should go vegan. While this was originally an ancient belief, studies have shown that crocodile eyes, they do water when they eat, but not with remorse. They do it for biological reasons due to the hisses and huffs during feeding. I still think they feel bad in some deep level. Number 14. Crocodiles have acute senses, an evolutionary advantage that makes them highly successful predators. Crocodiles are mainly nocturnal hunters and have excellent night vision. Their sense of smell and hearing are also extremely well developed. Number 15. Crocodiles have been known to occasionally cannibalize smaller crocodiles. There have been recorded cases of larger crocodiles eating smaller or younger crocs. Well, that is terrifying, isn't it? Number 16. Crocodiles are ambush and opportunistic predators, capable of preying upon large mammals, such as smaller elephants, hippos, sharks, or big cats. Some species, like the freshwater crocodile, will mostly eat fish, while larger species, like the saltwater crocodile, or the Nile Crocodile, which is the one Kurtis Dawe is sculpting here, will consume buffalo, zebra, deer, and wild boar. They eat buffalo. Could you even imagine? Number 17. Crocodiles have the most acidic stomach of any vertebrae. Acidic stomach. Acidic stomach. I could say that all day. Acidic stomach. Acidic stomach of any vertebrae. This allows them to dissolve and digest bones, hooves, and horns or shells from their prey. Digest bones, hooves, or horns. Number 18. Crocodiles perform a death roll to overcome prey, clamping on using their jaws and spinning around powerfully. The spinning motion of the roll disorientates the prey, dragging them under the water, and helps separate limbs from the body of larger animals to easily ingest. Side note, I've also seen videos of alligators and crocodiles biting each other's limbs off by accident and death rolling them off, and then they go about their business. Pretty crazy. Number 19. Crocodiles vocalize to communicate. The young of some species squeak and grunt, while adult crocs can growl, hiss, or roar at each other. Many species will also respond Number 20. Crocodiles can sleep with one eye wide open. Hopefully your eyes are nice and closed and you're all relaxed. Well, I guess crocodiles sleep with one eye open. Only some other reptiles, birds, and dolphins can do the same. They generally sleep with two eyes closed, though. Oh, sometimes one eye open. I guess when the other ones are there to eat them, yeah, I would too. 2 more facts left. 21. Larger crocodiles can go for over a year without eating a meal. A croc's metabolism is super efficient, using and storing nearly the entirety of the food it consumes. In extreme circumstances, they are able to shut down and live off their own tissue for a long period of time. Last but not least, fact number 22. Worldwide, crocodiles are estimated to kill about 1,000 humans per year. Hundreds of those crocodile attacks occur in Africa, often in small communities where they are not widely reported. So that means that could be a lot more human attacks. So that is all for today and our crocodile facts. 22 facts about the Nile Crocodile. Next, I'm going to read you a lovely bedtime story. It's called The Prince and His 3 Fates, short story for kids. And it's from the website storiestogrowby.org. Once upon a time, a child was born to a king and a queen who ruled over a great country on the banks of the Nile River. The royal parents were nearly beside themselves with joy, and they sent invitations at once to the most powerful fairies to come and see this wonderful baby. In an hour or 2, so many were gathered around the cradle that the child seemed in danger of being smothered. But the king, who was watching the fairies eagerly, was disturbed to see them looking grave. "Is there anything the matter?" he asked anxiously. The fairies looked at him, and they all shook their heads at once. "He is a beautiful boy, and it is a great pity, but what is to happen will happen," they said. "It is fated that he must die either by a crocodile, or a serpent, or by a dog. If we could save him, we would, but this is beyond our power." And so saying, they vanished. For a time, the king and queen stood where they were, horror-stricken at what they have just heard. But being of a hopeful nature, they began to once to invite plans to save the prince from the dreadful doom that awaited him. Instantly the king sent for his master builder and bade him to construct a strong castle on the top of the mountain, which should be fitted with the most precious things from the king's own palace, and every kind of toy a child could wish to play with. What's more, he gave the strictest orders at a guard that should walk around the castle night and day. For 4 or 5 years, the baby lived in the castle alone with his nurses, taking his airings on the terraces, which were surrounded by walls with a moat beneath them and only a drawbridge to connect themselves to the outer world. One day, when the prince was old enough to run quite fast by himself, he looked from the terrace across the moat and saw a little soft, fluffy ball of dog jumping and playing on the other side. Now, of course, all dogs have been kept away from him for fear of the fairy's prophecy should come true, and he had never even seen one before. So he turned to the page who was walking behind him and said, "What is that funny little thing which is running so fast over there?" "That is a dog, Prince," answered the page. "Well, bring me one like it, and we shall see which can run faster." And he watched the dog until it disappeared around the corner. puzzled. He had strict orders to refuse the prince nothing, yet he remembered the prophecy and felt that this was a serious matter. At last he thought he had better tell the king the whole story and let him decide for the question for himself. "Oh, get him a dog if he wants one," said the king. "He will only cry his heart out if he does not have it." So a puppy was found exactly like the other. They might have been twins, and perhaps they were. Years went by, and the boy and the dog played together, till the boy grew tall and strong. The time came at last when he sent a message to his father saying, "Why do you keep me shut up here, doing nothing? I know all about the prophecy that was made at my birth, but I would far rather be killed at once than live such an idle, useless life. You're trapped here on this mountain. I beg you, father, give me arms and let me go, me and my dog too." Again the king listened to his wishes, and the young prince and his dog were carried in a ship to the other side of the Nile River, which was to board at the part at most have been the sea. A black horse was waiting for him on the other side, tied to a tree, and he mounted it and rode away whenever his fancy took him, the dog always at his heels. Never was any prince so happy as he, and he rode and rode until the length came, and that he came to the king's palace. There he presented himself, and the king took a fancy to the youth. What's more, his daughter took a fancy to him also, and he to her. Soon they fell in love and were betrothed and were to be married. "There is one thing you must know about me," the prince said to his betrothed. "I was fated at birth to die in the hands of one of three creatures: a crocodile, a serpent, or a dog. You can choose not to marry me, I understand." "I love you no matter what happens," said the princess. "But how rash you are. How can you have that horrid beast around you, knowing what you know? I will give orders to have him killed at once." But the prince would not listen to her. "Kill my dear little dog, who has been my playfellow since he was a puppy," he cried. "Oh, never would I allow that." And all the princesses could get away from him were his sword and have someone with him at all times, and he left the palace. When the prince and the princess had been married only a few months, the prince heard that his mother had passed away and that his father was old and ill, and he longed to have his eldest son by his side again. The young man with his bride set out on a journey back to the native land. The first night that they had arrived, while they were asleep, the princess noticed something strange in one of the corners of the room. It was a dark patch and seemed, as she looked, to grow longer and longer, and to be moving slowly towards the cushions on which the prince was lying. She shrank in terror, but slight as was the noise she had made, the thing heard it, and raised its head to listen. Then she saw was a long flat head of a serpent, and a recollection of the prophecy rushed into her mind. Without waking her husband, she glided out of bed, and taking up a heavy bowl of milk which stood on a table, laid it upon the floor in the path of the serpent, for she knew that no serpent in the world can resist milk. She held her breath as the snake drew near, and watched it rear up its head again as if it were smelling something nice, while its forked tongue darted out greedily. At length its eyes fell upon the milk, and in an instant it was lapping it up so fast that it was a wonder the creature did not choke, for it never took its head from the bowl as long as a drop was left in it, and after it dropped on the ground and slept heavily. This is what the princess had been waiting for. Summoning her guards, she ordered the serpent to be captured into a large basket with a tight-fitted lid. having enough food to keep the creature for a while, and order the basket to be sent to a very far distant land. Soon after their arrival, the old king sadly died. They gave him a magnificent burial, and then the prince had to examine the new laws which had been made in his absence, and do a great deal of other business besides, till he grew quite ill from the fatigue and was obliged to go away to one of his palaces on the banks of the river in order to rest. Here he soon got bothered. He began to hunt, and wherever he went, his dog, now grew very old, went with him. One morning, the prince and his dog were out as usual, and in chasing their game drew near the bank of the Nile River. The prince was running at full speed after his dog, when he fell over something that looked like a log of wood, which was lying in his path. To his surprise, a voice spoke to him, and he saw the thing which he had taken for a branch was really a crocodile. "You cannot escape from me," it was saying. When he had gathered his senses again, "I am your fate, and wherever you go, and whatever you do, you will always find me before you. There is only one means of shaking off my power. If you can dig a pit in dry sand, which will remain full of water, my spell will be broken. If not, death will come to you speedily. I give you this one chance. Now go." The young man walked away sadly, and when he reached the palace, he shut himself into his room, and for the rest of the day refused to see anyone, even his wife. By sunset, however, the princess grew quite frightened and pleaded with him so compellingly that he let her come in. "How pale you look," she cried. "Has anything hurt you? Tell me, I pray you, what is the matter?" So the prince told her the whole story of the impossible task given to him by the crocodile. "How can a sand hole remain full of water?" asked he. "Of course it will all run through. The crocodile called it a chance, but he might as well have dragged me into the river right then and there. Truly, I cannot escape him." "Oh, if that is all," cried the princess, "I can set you free myself, for my fairy godmother taught me to know how to use plants, and in the desert, not far from here, there grows a little four-leaved herb which will keep water in a pit for the whole year. I will go in search of it at dawn, and you can begin to dig the hole so it's ready for my return." To comfort her husband, the princess had spoken lightly and gaily, but she knew very well, in her husband's heart, she had no light task before her. It was still starlight when she left the palace on a snow-white donkey, and rose away from the Nile River straight to the west. For some time she could see nothing before her but a flat waste of sand, which became hotter and hotter as the sun rose higher and higher. Then a dreadful thirst seized her and the donkey, but there was no stream to quench it, and if there had been, she would hardly have time to stop, for she still had far to go, and must be back before evening, or else the crocodile might declare that the prince had not fulfilled his conditions. So she spoke cheering words to her donkey, and brayed in reply, and the two pushed on steadily. Oh, how glad they both were when they caught sight of a tall rock in the distance, and cast a gloriously cool shadow. Though the donkey was content to rest, the princess could not, for the plant, as she knew, grew on a very top of the rock, and a wide chasm round the foot of it. Luckily, she had brought a rope with her, and making a noose at one end, she flung it across the chasm with all her might. The first time it slid back slowly to the ditch, and she had to draw it up and throw it again, but at length the noose caught upon something. The princess could not see what, and had to thrust her whole weight to the rope, which might snap if let her fall deep down among the rocks. And in the case, her death was certain, and that of her husband. The heart of the poor princess was filled with despair, yet bit by bit was torn with bleeding hands she gained the top. There was such a violent wind was blowing that she was almost blinded with dust, and was obliged to throw herself upon the ground and feel about after the precious herb. It was a plant, that was clear, but the right one she could not see, for the wind was blowing more fiercely than ever, and she lay there and just counted the leaves. 1, 2, 3. Yes, there were 4. And plucking a leaf, she held it safe in her hand while she turned, almost stunned by the wind, to go down the rock. She slid down the rock, jumped over the chasm with her rope, and she had done before, and set off with her donkey, who brayed joyfully at her return. On the bank of the Nile River, the donkey halted, and the princess rushed up to the prince. He was standing by the pit he had dug in the dry sand with a huge water pot beside it. A little way off, the crocodile lay blinking in the sun, with his sharp teeth and witty yellow jaws wide open. At a signal from the princess, the prince poured the water into the hole, and the moment it reached the brim, the princess flung into the 4-leafed plant. For half an hour they stood with their eyes rooted on the spot, but the hole remained as full as at the beginning, with the little green leaf floating on the top. Then the prince turned with a shout of triumph, and the crocodile sulkily plunged into the river. The prince had escaped forever the second of 3 fates. He stood there, looking after the crocodile, rejoicing that he was free, when suddenly he was startled by a wild duck, which flew past them. In another instant his dog dashed by in hot pursuit, and knocked heavily against his master's legs. The prince staggered, lost his balance, and fell backward into the river, where the mud and the rushes caught him, held him fast, and shrieked for help to his wife, who came running, and luckily she brought her rope with her. The prince was pulled to shore, as well as his poor dog, who had fallen in the river. "My wife," he said, looking into her eyes with great fondness, "you have been stronger than my fate." The end. This ancient story from Egypt is now found in the Harris Papyrus in the British Museum. It was complete when first discovered, but an unfortunate accident partly destroyed it, so that the end of the tale is lost. It is supposed to belong to the end of the 18th dynasty, about 1700 BC. The part where the papyrus becomes extensively mutilated is where the prince, after being saved by his wife from the serpent, faces his next danger, the crocodile. The papyrus was discovered in the Sudanese region of the Nile River. This is our first ever video, and we are so excited to bring you more just like this. I hope you enjoyed it and you're fast asleep or relaxed or doing you the best that you can do. Please comment anything that you'd like to see, any sculptures that you'd like Kurtis Dawe to do, and other things that we can talk about to help you relax